All right, everybody. On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, Evander Kane apparently had some choice words to say about the Avalanche as a team. Does he have a point, and do people agree with him? We'll talk about that, and new training facilities could be on the way for the Avalanche, and a season preview of Ryan Johansen, all next on Locked On Avalanche. Coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and definitely subscribe to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I, one-on-one. All right, sir, there's our rundown. If you're watching over on YouTube, we will get to a season preview of one of the newer members of the Avalanche and Ryan Johansen. And those training facilities apparently much needed for the Avalanche. They could be on the way. But where we're going to start is we'll start with the comments Evander Kane made and kind of just blow that up a little bit. So apparently, and I haven't heard this, I don't know if this was in podcast form or if it was just in an article, but he was doing an interview and he said he just does not like the Colorado Avalanche and called them cocky. So again, man, I tried to find like the article or if it was an audio. I didn't find it. So I tread lightly in talking about this. But is it out of the realm for Evander Kane to say something like that? Not really. So we'll start there and then we'll go in a different direction. But if he said that, like, what do you take from that?
It was one of those that I was kind of shocked when I heard it or read it, and I was just like, why is he mentioning the Colorado Avalanche as a cocky team when you play for a Canadian team, when you have the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are the definition of a cocky team, and the Montreal Canadiens, even when they're bad, they're cocky when they're bad. And let's all look at the calendars. Like, it's been a year and some change since they walked right through the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs.
I think that's what it is. I think there's some sour grapes there for, he's not over that.
Like, why are we still talking about that, dude?
I don't know. Yeah. And you're right about, like, there are teams in the league that they kind of walk with like this arrogance, and you almost have to say like almost all of the original six could be lumped in there, right? I think Boston totally is.
Oh yeah.
Boston absolutely is. Definitely Toronto, maybe from a fan standpoint. I don't think that the team itself is so kind of like has their nose up in the air. Montreal maybe, but they're struggling right now, so you don't hear about it that much. I don't get it from an Avalanche standpoint, and I'm honestly not saying this because I'm a fan of the team when we host a podcast about them. I don't see it from them. Like they're not. I kind of feel like they play the game the way that it should be played. You know, you don't see them taking cheap shots. Like, people want to throw the Cale Makar thing out there. I will argue that till the end that was not a cheap shot. If you want to, give him a penalty for that, what happened in the Seattle playoff game, fine. It's not a cheap shot. He's not a dirty player. You'd be hard pressed to find a guy that's not like a good guy on the team. And when we had Katie Gauze on last year, she kind of like, she was just getting acclimated to the team. She even said that she's like, they're all just good guys. So I don't know where he's coming with this like arrogance. Maybe it was just because they won a championship. Sure, you're going to walk around with a little bit of arrogance, but not so much where it's like, what doesn't stink.
And it's been like 20 something years since we had Patrick Waugh, the soundbite machine, like chirping at Jeremy Roenick, talking about I can't hear what he's got to say with my Stanley Cup. You know,
Yeah,
we all know, and
right.
like Patrick Wall was the lightning rod for that. He loved to stir the pot in that way, but since Wall left, there hasn't really been like that vocal kind of pot stirrer. The
Do you remember?
Avalanche have kind
Yeah.
of just done things the Avalanche way.
Do you remember when Cale Makar made those comments about Igor Shesterkin? When Shesterkin
Oh
had
yeah,
a good game, and it was right after the game was over, so like emotions were still high because they lost the game. And Cale Makar made a comment that, like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he basically said, like, oh, they have a goalie that's all about like the show. Like, that was like, oh my god, that's a big deal. What did Cale Makar say? And like, that really isn't like the worst thing in the world. Like,
you
I
mean
don't
the same
agree with
player
what Cale
that
Makar with what he said, but like that was like going too far in the eyes of like Avalanche fans and for Cale Makar himself. That's not a normal thing that you hear out of him.
yeah, the same player that waved off a penalty and or no,
That's so true.
it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
he can't win when it
Right.
comes to what he says and what he does. But again, you're having to dive deep to find something that you can
Right.
ruffle your feathers
Right.
with this Colorado Avalanche team.
Right. You don't
Like,
like game in and game out. You're not like, oh, here go the Avalanche again, 20 penalty minutes a game and stuff. Like, no, they're not that. But I mean, so this brings up the bigger question for that I want to bring up. Are the Avalanche just as not in how they play and attitudes on the team, just because they've been successful and winning a lot lately, does that put them in the category of, if you're not an Avalanche fan, you just don't like them right now? You know, teams that just like win, like have a good run of winning. They got a championship mixed in there. You know, things start to turn in the eyes of the fans, where if you're not a fan of that team, you dislike them because they're good. Do you feel like the Avalanche are there, or do they just because they have likable guys? Cale Makar is a likable guy, right? Nathan McKinnon, superstar. That automatically turns people onto your team. Mikko Rantanen, quiet, confident guy, just plays the way he's supposed to play. You know what I mean? Like you have appealing guys on this team that don't go out there and make all these sound bites. Does that get ignored because your team is good, and then therefore just the fans around the league don't like you?
I honestly I don't think so, because
Yeah.
let's rewind back to the cup run. What was the resounding, like, the ratings were through the roof. You didn't get those same ratings for the Vegas Cup. And what was everybody saying about the Avalanche? That's just a fun team. All the small things, like the chain, like it was just a fun team to cheer for. And honestly, I think the Avalanche are kind of equatable to like the Miami Dolphins. Like, they were bad for so long. They had a really good history. And now that they're putting things together, like, everybody loves rooting for Tua. They have cool jerseys. It's the same with the Avalanche. Like, even though they're finding success now, like, you can't hate them. They don't play a game that you hate.
Right.
And it's one of those things you honestly respect them, because they put a team together the right way and they have the right players to do it. And it's not like they're going out and doing it the wrong way or rubbing in your face when they do.
And if you remember, like, yeah, when they were going up against Tampa Bay, everybody was rooting for Colorado because nobody wanted Tampa Bay to get another one, 3 in a row. And then you got to listen to, you know, that fan base again. And understandably so. If you know, you did it, you pulled off 3 in a row, you have massive bragging rights, but people just didn't want to hear it. So if you were not a Lightning fan, you were rooting for the Avalanche. And I was really interested to see if if the Avalanche were going to become the new Lightning. Like, if they had won back-to-back, or even if they had just gone back, even if they just won the one against Tampa Bay and gone back the next year, now they're going for 2 in a row, you probably would have had some of those people, you know, if things remained the same on the other side where you're going up against Florida, that was the good story. And I think you were seeing that, people rooting for Florida because of the story. So it didn't work out that way, obviously. But I agree with you. Overall, I don't think the Avalanche are hated within the hockey community, because, like you said, they have a good front office. You still have Joe Sakic as the face of that front office. You have a coach who hardly gives you any sound bites. He's just quiet and stoic and does his job and does it very well. And then your superstars just play well and don't do anything on or off the ice where you're like, that guy's an idiot and that guy's tough to root for. So I think they are still a likable team for most people.
And it was one of those that everybody was kind of huddling around the Avalanche bandwagon because it was, I'd like to see Nathan McKinnon win a cup, Cale Makar get a cup,
Yeah.
Gabe Landeskog get a cup. They have players you could cheer for when, like, contrary, there are teams that are making their way through the playoffs last year, and everybody's like, oh, I just don't want to see insert player name here win a cup or get another cup. I just can't stand to listen to them for one more year. Or Vegas as a team. Like, I can't stand like that fan base to win a cup because they'll never be quiet. You never had that kind of conversation around the Avalanche.
At least you didn't hear. I'm sure there are other fan bases who couldn't stand. Every other fan base can't stand the other fan bases, right? So I think that was still true. But I think what also is working for the Avalanche is they are a mid-market team, right? They are, and I think people will always root for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're gonna have, like, you know, your Los Angeles Lakers of the world, and your new, like, the Yankees right now going through it, and people are happy. But the Yankees are going to be back, right? And, you know, teams like the Los Angeles Lakers, so they go through bad seasons and people are happy about that, but they're going to return. When you have these, you know, mid to lower markets that finally, like, play well year after year, I think people are fine with that because they like to see that. Like the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yep.
I think people are just fine that they just made that big trade and can go for another championship. I like seeing that stuff. I'm from head to top to bottom, like, I'm okay when the big markets do it because that drives the sport. Let's get real. But when the lower guys do it, that's good too, because that's just the story. And that's just a good story.
And that was the story surrounding the Nuggets.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, fire away in the comments section, and welcome to all of the fans from other fan bases who are probably going to comment in the comment section. We hate you guys, and that's just fine too. All right, let's hear from Game Time, and then we will get into these new training facilities that could be on the way. But you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and view from your seats. And the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And some of the things that we love about the Game Time app experience, some of the things we just mentioned, those last minute tickets, the flash deals are incredible. They have zone deals, which are awesome. There's a specific zone in the stadium or arena. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your arena. The view from the seats is awesome. And it's not just because some other sites have that where they make it like a little bit difficult where you have to click on something and then a pop-up comes. This is like, just imagine like you're scrolling Twitter or Instagram and the seat view is right there as you're scrolling. It's so you don't have to go into another page. It's just neat, tidy. It's all right there. It's awesome. And of course, the all-in pricing is key too. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So this is something that I just have some minor fascination with this stuff. I brought it up a couple times. Even when Locked On Kings was on, I brought it up with them because training facilities are a big deal right now. They're getting bigger. They're getting better. The technology in them is incredible. And that's one area where the Avalanche are lacking right now, majorly. And teams are building these things with the community in mind, with free agents in mind, with their current players in mind. They want to give them a better experience, basically, of being an employee of the team. And there's a lot of wow factors that come into play. You look at some of these new ones and they're works of art. Especially like the one, everything Seattle has done out there is incredible. I mentioned Los Angeles. We had Armando. When I was talking to Armando about the one in Florida that the Florida Panthers were making, purposely wanted to get that done by All-Star break last year. So when all of those All-Stars are going there, they look at these brand new facilities and say, I'm going to remember that when I'm a free agent. Word has come out that the Avalanche, or not the Avalanche, that the Cronkies recognize this, and they said like they own the area around Ball Arena. And the plan is there's a lot of plans. The first plan is to put training facilities brand new in that surrounding area for the Nuggets and the Avalanche. Don't know what the time frame is on this, but at least they're talking about it. And I feel like they've been talking about it for the last 2 years. So it's kind of exciting to see that this maybe has a little bit more legs now and could be coming maybe in the relative new future. It's much needed.
It's absolutely needed. It's been needed for quite some time. Like, I know I've made my little jokes about the Avs training facility currently, how it's almost like a Chuck E. Cheese. But like when you look around the rest of the league, like even like the New Jersey Devils, like their training facility is attached to the arena. You practice right there, and you could go. And honestly, when you're talking like Denver sports, the Riveters of the PHF, now defunct league, the Riveters played there. So it's not just for your team.
Oh no.
But you can expand, and with the Nuggets having a training facility there, you can have the G League. There's so many things you could bring into that area, and the convenience of practicing in a state-of-the-art facility, it really it fires you up. It's got to be a little bit demoralizing to go in the middle of a birthday party to go train for your NHL game.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you talked about in the first segment, like this mid-market team, the Avalanche, they could rise above that, and to have the training facility they have now.
Yeah,
it's hard to jump that when you're trying to recruit guys in. Like getting Johansen and Miles Wood and Ross Colton was a big get, but I'm curious to see what they think about the training facilities when they come from places like Nashville and New Jersey.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, it's not going to pull them out of being like a mid-market. Like a mid-market is based on like, the city that you're in. Like that will always be the New York, Chicago's, and LA's of the world. Right. But I get what you're saying. Like it's a way to entice people. You know what I mean? And I think, like when we talk to Eddie from Locked On Kings, like they house their AHL team in that facility. That facility is nice enough to house an AHL team. It's not just a sheet of ice or a couple of sheets of ice where a team goes in and practices. Like it's you could have concerts in that thing if you wanted to, and they probably do. So I think you got to come around in some capacity to do this stuff. And I think it would benefit the Avalanche to do this quickly, as quick as possible, right? Why? Because the guys that are playing for you now are probably I'm kind of backtracking on that, right? Because it's the Cronkies, right? They have billions and billions of dollars, but you're making this for an Avalanche team that's been successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to do this for a Nuggets team that's been successful in the recent years, right? So the players that are playing for those teams now should see this and benefit from it too. It shouldn't come around in 10 years when Nathan McKinnon is maybe only has a couple of years left, and Cale Makar's in his mid-30s, and they only get a couple of years use out of this thing while they're players. I think it would be a nice thing to do to have this done and let these guys just experience it from a player's point of view while you're still actively playing for the team, and not just wait it out until they're basically say, hey, thanks for helping us build this because we've been so good we can afford this now, and as they're walking out the door of their careers.
And you honestly don't want to be behind the rest of the league.
No, absolutely not.
Florida's
I think they are right now.
And Florida's working on theirs right now too. Like
Yeah.
there are so many teams around the league that are jumping ahead of Colorado, and you can't constantly rely on drafting your top lines and drafting your homegrown talent. Sometimes you have to go out and get them. And when everybody else is making a new shiny state-of-the-art facility and Colorado is sitting where they are, you gotta step it up just a little bit.
Well, for stuff like that, yeah. Like right now, you can offer free agents winning, and that's huge. That is huge. Not trying to minimize that whatsoever. It's probably what brought Tomas Tatar to the Avalanche. You can sell that, and there will be some guys that come over here and say, "Hey, like I want to play with guys like Nathan McKinnon. I want to play with guys like Cale McCarr and Mikko Rantanen, all those guys. I want to experience that." But it's just nice to have in your back pocket. Hey, look at these brand new facilities. Go look at what Minnesota practices.
Yeah,
please. I know you don't want to have that algorithm go into your cell phone of Minnesota Wild stuff, but just do it, or do it from somebody else's computer if you don't want that to happen. They're beautiful. They're beautiful, and the Avs have nothing close to that.
And you can only sell winning for so long. That was again a year ago, because other teams can also sell winning plus their facilities. So you're going to lose out on that sales pitch as well.
Yeah. So it's good. It's good. It seems like it's happening. Like I said, we just don't have time frames on it, but at least it's being talked about. But I kind of feel like it's been being talked about for the past couple of years. So let's get some plans. Let's get some shovels in the earth, and let's build this thing, because you'll see the benefits from it from many different assets.
Yep.
So, all right. A Ryan Johansen preview is what we're going to do today. So stick around and we'll do that next. But first, we're going to hear from FanDuel. You know, FanDuel, you'll love it. Snap into action this NFL season. And hey, why not bet the Denver Broncos going up against the New York Jets this week, wearing the white helmets, the whole white get up?
What could go wrong?
Oh, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Which means everything will go wrong. So right
Bet
now,
on Sean Payton keeping his sleeves.
Yeah, no, I you know what? He better cut them mid game or sometime, like don't come out with those. Cut them on the sideline. That's what you have to do. Don't cut them beforehand. Cut them on the sideline. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over and under, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and get the NFL season going, which it already is, but the Broncos season is just going, so that's good. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Season preview time, and today Kyle has selected Ryan Johansen. Is this the first newbie that we've done so far?
I believe it is.
I think it is. Yeah, I think people are excited about this, and for maybe for nothing else, it just feels like you have a little bit more stability now at the 2C. I don't think, at least I'm not expecting like miracles out of Ryan Johansen. I just want him to play how he's played in the seasons where he's played well. Yeah. And that's the weird thing about Ryan Johansen. When you look at his like career stats, he's had good seasons all throughout it. Yeah. It's not like he's peaked like 6 years ago and has had this steady decline since then. He's had good seasons and bad seasons, and then he'll have good seasons again. I want to bottle the good seasons and have them be when he's with the Avalanche and nothing else.
Well, luckily for the Avalanche, it kind of alternates. Last year was not the greatest season, so according to just the trend, he's got to bring in a great season to Colorado, and it only benefits, honestly, it's a good thing that Ryjo came in this year instead of the season before, coming off the cup with all those 2C questions. Like we would have expected a Kadri replacement. Like when it came to
good point.
Production, we would have had very, very high hopes of what that was going to be. And after what happened last year with what that 2C, 3C, 4C, like there's a basement. Like as long as you can just play the game and get us anywhere from like 30 plus points, we're going to be okay because that's such an upgrade from what we had. And just some kind of like
Right.
veteran, don't fold in the moment. Just come in, and even in your worst seasons, we'll take that too. But you have the Avalanche around you, so like that can only elevate your game. So
I
it's a
mean,
good situation for Ryan.
yeah, I think it's a good point about, if he had come in the year after Kadri left, that's like, well, I'm gonna say this.
Unrealistic expectation
Well,
for
it's like,
even him.
when you have like a Hall of Fame quarterback that leaves and that next guy that follows him just doesn't stand a chance. I'm not saying
Bobby
Nazem
Brister.
Kadri. I'm not saying Nazem Kadri is like, John Elway or anything like that, but guys, you just don't have you don't have a fighting chance because what you're replacing is just so beloved.
Yeah.
You don't have a chance. So maybe that's true. But his best seasons, going back to, it came into league in 2011, 2012. And then he kind of had his really good season in 13 and 14, 63 points. Followed that up with 71. Followed that up with 34. But no, I'm lying, because that's when he went to half Nashville, half Columbus. And he had in 42 games, 34 points with Nashville, and then 38 points, had another 26. So overall, it's a good season. That's 60 points right there. And then another 61, then 54, 64. And then he had a couple down seasons, and then 63, which was 2 years ago. So that's exactly what you want in a second line center.
Yep.
Those numbers, in the 50s and 60s. If you can get that from him, it's a home run deal for the Avalanche because you're only paying him $4 million. Nashville's soaking up the other $4. I don't think anybody would be upset about that. And he can do that here. He can really do it because he is surrounded by talent on that top 6, and he's going to get time on the power play. I think he's going to have a solid year. I think he can get back to those numbers. I don't think there's any reason to believe that he cannot get 55 to 60 points on this team. None.
And that's the luxury of playing for Colorado right now. Nobody on this team is in a position where they have to put the entire team on their back and go win a game. If you don't have it, because last year Raijo had a down year because of injuries. Mm-hmm. If he's just not at 100%, and he's telling us he is because the adrenaline of a new team, like he doesn't have to go out there and score 2 or 3 goals a night. He can facilitate, use that hockey IQ, the experience, and move that puck around. You have talent around you on your line. If you're long on a shift, that third line, they're going to help you out as well. You're not required to go out there and win games. It's win as a team, and the team is good around you.
And he's confident. You've heard multiple times during the preseason from like the altitude reporters and stuff like that he still considers himself and feels like he could be a 1C. Okay, we don't need you to be that, but we also know injuries happen on this team. Yep. So let's hope they don't. But if they do, he's confident that, okay, just prop me up into the top line if need be, if Nathan MacKinnon gets hurt or something like that. So you like hearing that and seeing that too.
That's a fantastic point, Chris. Like we have talked lines 2, 3, and 4 until we're blue in the face, but we don't want to talk about what happens if something happens with line 1. Yeah. And guess what? That has happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with just having him there to step up and everybody behind him to step up a little bit, that gives you so much peace going into this season that you haven't had in such a long time. And it's not just we know what he could do. No, he has a really high ceiling if he's feeling 100% confident. And if he's going up there with, say, a Mikko Rantanen or with Jonathan Drouin possibly, I mean, he's going to be just fine. And the Avalanche are going to be just fine. You're not going to be feeling it, counting the days for Nathan MacKinnon to return.
Yeah. I mean, Nazem Kadri is a fan favorite, right? And always will be for the short amount of time that he was here. And I don't think, people are looking at him, arms folded, like, oh, do what Kadri did. No. But I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised with what they're going to get out of Ryan Johansen. I think it's going to be a fun season for him. And Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think he's going to really produce on this team. So let us know what you think, people. Let's fire away in the comments section. I didn't throw this out to the people on subtext. I apologize for that. So the next one we will. I slacked there. That's my fault. So all right, that's going to wrap it up for today anyway. So yeah, like I said, fire away in the comment section, and thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. So we will be back tomorrow with anything new going on. There were some people that got sent down. We'll talk about that. Maybe there's going to be some more of those on the way. We don't know. We'll talk about that tomorrow. All right. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, and I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.